top story this half an hour. The Alabama Senate race heats up. President Trump is headed to the state today to shore up support for Senator Luther Strange, who was appointed to replace Jeff Sessions when he became Attorney General. While he has the president's backing, Strange has faced a fierce fight for the seat from former state Chief Justice Roy Moore. Last night, the two Republican contenders squared off in a heated debate ahead of the Tuesday runoff election. Watch.
The problem is President Trump's being cut off in his office. He's being redirected by people like McConnell, who do not support his agenda, who will not support his agenda in the future.
You just said that he was being manipulated by Mitch McConnell. I met Mitch McConnell about 6 or 7 months ago. I've already stood up to him many occasions. And to suggest that the President of the United States, the head of the free world, a man who is changing the world, is being manipulated by Mitch McConnell is insulting to the President. It's absolutely insulting to the President. That's why he's chosen me. He's not being manipulated by anyone.
Joining us this morning is the Daily Caller editor-in-chief, Chris Bedford. Chris, it's great to have you on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You guys are doing a great job. Congratulations. Let me ask you about this
Thanks.
Senate race right now, because it's putting the president in an unusual spot and sort of opening up the curtains as to what the problems are within the GOP right now.
Yeah, it's really put him in a spot. He knows he's got to win. I heard a conversation from some people who were involved in this race, and they said that the president tweeted out his support during the original primary, which was last month when there was still 3 Republican candidates. And shortly afterwards, Steve Bannon ran in and said, "Why'd you do that?" Trump said, "Well, I was told that this is my guy. This is the guy I want to support. Strange." Bannon said, "No, you should go with this other guy." And Donald Trump said, "Listen, now that I've done it, he has got to win." And I was on the phone the morning of the first primary, that was about last month, and one of the guys who was kicked out, I said, "Hey, is there any chance you're going to pull ahead?" He said, "No way. Donald Trump has blocked out the sun. They're going to beat us. He has a lot of pull in Alabama." But then you got to remember that Strange only lost by about 6 points. I was 6 points ahead for Moore. And then there was these 20 points that went for the other guy, Mo Brooks. Those guys clearly weren't swayed by Donald Trump. They lean more conservative. And right now, Strange is losing in the polls by 9 points. On a primary that happens Tuesday, it's looking difficult for the president to pull this ahead.
Wow.
Chris, whether it's Moore or whether it's Strange, what's the difference practically when it comes to the president's agenda and his policy? Is there going to be a big difference here depending on the outcome?
That's kind of the funny thing, is there's not a huge difference between the two. Moore is certainly more conservative. He's more of a firebrand. He's more maybe a social conservative. And Strange certainly does get along with Mitch McConnell. But largely on the issues, they're really right down the middle. The thing here that Donald Trump wants, he doesn't want to have a loss. Once he's endorsed someone as the president of the USA, the alleged head of this party, he's got to win. Otherwise, he looks weak, and he's going to have to deal with a couple days of headlines about how Donald Trump's lost his mojo, when really either way he gets an ally in the Senate.
Chris, with your story up front on McConnell and the early choice made behind Strange, is it really a loss for the president if Judge Moore wins? Because, you know, he made his name on the ground by defending the 10 commandments. He's got huge grassroots Christian support down there. Steve Bannon, the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, I mean, he's going to be an ally, as you said. The president made an early bet. If he loses, is this still not an indication that outsiders and bomb throwers and nationalists are on the rise within the Republican Party?
It certainly would be an indication that they're on the rise, and you'll see that Donald Trump, yeah, exactly what you said. Practically speaking, really tactically speaking, either way he wins. He gets someone who's going to support them. And for the last 2 races that they've had down in Alabama, it's been a fight over who loves Donald Trump more. That's a good place for him to be in the South. But it will make him look bad, and he'll have to deal with a few days of bad headlines over whether or not he has control over his party. But really, in the end, no, he gets an ally no matter what.
But the fallout, Chris, is if Luther Strange doesn't win, then you know that will stick in the president's brain, and it will come up again and again and again. When he feels like he's been defeated or criticized, he very often can't let that go. And what would be the impact of that?
Yeah, you know, the word that I heard, the rumors that I heard that were passed down to me, was that the person who was behind this push was Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner's closer with Mitch McConnell. Jared Kushner's always pushed for closer relationships on the Hill. And Trump believed him, and Trump, allegedly, according to what I heard from these guys, Trump made this endorsement without really running it by a lot of different people. He's kind of a gut actor like that.
Yeah.
And if he feels like he was put in a bind where he ends up supporting Mitch McConnell, who he doesn't necessarily love, as we know.
Yeah.
I don't think he hates him nearly as much as the press says. says, but he doesn't love them. If he ends up getting pushed into this and he feels like he was fooled or had one pulled over on him, I think you'll see he'll treat his advisors a little differently and take that advice more carefully.
Maria, this debate exposes concerns amongst the grassroots that really Bannonites have been pushed out of the White House, and it's the establishment types taking over this race is an indication of that.
Wow, yeah, that really does expose it, doesn't it? Because the traditional leadership is with Moore.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. The president is headed to Alabama. The vice president is talking about tax reform in his home state of Indiana. He's making the case for a tax code overhaul in the small town of Anderson, just outside of Indianapolis. Chris, what's your thought on this in terms of tax reform? What, you think we're going to get it this year?
It would be a hard push right now. And I've been made a fool of too many times making predictions about what seems like easy Republican legislation to get passed.
Yeah.
Right now, we're on round 3 of Obamacare, maybe third time's the charm if they can actually bribe a few people. And tax reform will be even a bigger hurdle because, like with this Obamacare vote, there are going to be winners, there are going to be losers, and really, at the end of the day, a lot of people just want a handout. Pence is going back to Indiana, which is the scene of his governorship and a place where he's had a couple tax battles himself, so it'll be familiar ground, and he's a good messenger for it. Well,
we're going to get the plan next week from the White House, Dagan. It's supposed to be a 20% corporate tax rate. It's supposed to be 28% pass-through individual. You're talking about 12, 25, 35 in terms of brackets on the individual side. We'll see if that can get the votes.
Right, and see how much ultimately, when you start crunching the numbers, if you remove some deductions for higher income Americans, if they actually get a tax cut or not.
They're not going to get a tax cut because you're talking about the highest rate of 35%. That's down from 39.6, but that's 35%. But you're also eliminating probably you're going to eliminate state and local tax deduction. So the highest earners, not much. Not much.
That is going to be an immense fight.
That's going to be the fight. State and local tax deduction.
Not just among Democrats, who largely New York and California are liberal states, but there are conservative lawmakers. Look at Congressman King, for example, out from Long Island.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. Chris Bedford, good to see you, sir. We're going to be watching what you guys are reporting the Awan brothers because you've done a great job on that story for sure. Thanks for breaking that. All right.